This is Charlie Key. You are listening to the Be a Light podcast. Matthew 5:14 says, "You are the light of the world, like a city on a hilltop that cannot be hidden." Hi, y'all. I am so excited for you to meet Sarah Jane Houston. Sarah Jane is an incredibly accomplished woman, but she's only a senior in high school, and she's already written and published her first children's book called Janeybug's Big Day in an effort to have more representation in reading. She's also Miss Albany, and she has so many incredibly wise things to say throughout this episode, so I can't wait for you all to give it a listen. Thank you so much for joining me today, Sarah Jane. It is such an honor to interview you. You're just a wonderful, radiant light in the lives of others, and I'm so glad that the Miss America organization has brought us together.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah. So we're going to start off with the question, why? Because that's the question of the podcast. So Sarah Jane, what is your why?
I would have to say that my why is basically my family. So I come from a very diverse family. I have a lot of siblings adopted through foster care. I have a sibling with an invisible disability. I have a sibling who's legally blind, and I have a sibling that's a different race from me. So every day I just strive to make the world a better place for them, and not only for them, but even for people that I don't know and people that I do know, but that's really what inspires me to make the world a better place, because I have seen the world and I just don't want them to have to live in something that's not ready for them. And, I just want to make it as good as a place possible for them to have the best life as possible.
Absolutely. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I think that's something you and I have in common. We both come from very big families. We're both one of 6 children, actually. So what's the best part of being a part of a big family?
So I'd have to say it's kind of like the best and the worst part, honestly, would have to be there's always somebody around. So yeah, I guess I'm sure you can understand how that's good and bad. So it's good because on long days and you feel alone, there's always somebody around, whether that be, so I am the oldest of 6 kids and I have 5 brothers actually. So that be one of my brothers or one of my awesome parents, there's always somebody around. But also when it's been a long day and they are around, and sometimes they don't when you want to be by yourself. But yeah, it's definitely awesome. I can't imagine my life any other way. I love the big family life.
I agree 100%. That's actually my favorite part. And it's kind of the worst part sometimes too, because sometimes you just want that alone time. And I have 4 brothers. So I have 1 sister, but the brothers can be a lot sometimes, but I love them with my whole heart. And there's never a dull moment, which is exciting. So what's it like being the oldest and the only girl of your family?
So being the oldest and the only girl has prepared me for a lot. So being the oldest really has given me a lot of leadership skills, and I didn't realize that it had given me these leadership skills until I was in a place of leadership. My whole life, I've just really followed my mom's example, and I've always wanted to take care of my younger siblings. And so also being the only girl has really given me this super special relationship with my mom. She has a relationship with all of my siblings, but me being the only girl is just a little bit different. It's a little bit more special. And so love my mom. Shout out to her. She is so amazing. But yeah, so that's definitely 2 awesome things about being the oldest and the only girl.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I only have 1 sister. And so I understand that relationship, just like being the only girl is the relationship that you have together. It's different. It's different. How long have you been doing theater? And what is the thing that you love most about it?
So I started doing theater when I was in about 3rd grade, so about 8 or 9 years old. And so I'm 18 now, so that's about 10 years. And I'd have to say the one thing that I love most about it would be when I'm there, I forget all my problems. And that's one of the main reasons that people go to the theater is to forget about all their problems and just be entertained. But truly, as an actress, that is why I love most about performing, is when I'm under the lights, that's the only thing that I'm thinking about. And no matter what's going on in my life or what's going on in the world, that's the only thing I'm able to focus on then. And it truly makes me so happy.
Absolutely. I agree with that. And being in theater, it just gives you a chance to connect with people in such a different way and make everybody feel something different. Bring them back to an old memory they had watching a movie with someone that they loved or just anything. That's the most beautiful thing about theater and music in general. So when did you start competing in the Miss America organization?
So I started competing. So funny story, kind of a little bit long. But so when I was in middle school, my middle school band director wanted to do a fundraiser pageant. And she's like, you should do it. And I was like, okay. It took some convincing because that was way out of my comfort zone as a shy middle school girl in band. So I and loving it. And I got first runner up. And I was in about, I think, seventh grade. And so I wanted to keep competing, but I really liked the phases of competition that I competed in that pageant. And so they were the same as the ones in the Miss America organization. And so that's why the Miss America organization really caught my eye. And ever since then, I've been kind of successful competing here.
Yeah.
I've been able to gain around $27,000 in scholarships from the Miss
Wow.
America organization. And so it's had such a huge impact on my life, and I'm so glad that my middle school band director encouraged me to compete in her fundraiser pageant because that led to my MAO journey.
Absolutely. That's so great. And this organization, like the scholarship, people don't really understand how much scholarship dollars it can give you that can go towards furthering your education. It's actually the number one scholarship provider for young women in the United States, and that is definitely something to celebrate and to appreciate about the Miss America organization. So your social impact initiative in the Miss America organization is representation in reading. Tell me about what this is and why you're so passionate about it.
So, like I kind of mentioned earlier, I'm super passionate about this because of my family. Growing up, it was very rare that we were represented through literature. And so let me tell you a bit about what representation in reading is. So it's just focuses on the importance of everyone being represented through literature, because when you're represented, children specifically, represented in literature, it promotes a positive impact on their self-image and also what they can achieve in society as adults. And so, like I said, we were rarely represented in literature, and I wanted to take one of the first steps in part of my family being able to be represented through literature. And so that's why I recently wrote and published my first book, Janeybug's Big Day. And it's a loosely based true story about a young girl who struggles with being a legally blind student and being able to overcome that obstacle. So since then, I've had students tell me that they struggle with the same thing, that they're legally blind, and they didn't know that others were also legally blind because it's not talked about or represented through literature, and
Yeah.
that they had no idea that Queen would be legally blind. And yeah, it's allowed me to make super special connections with children and even adults too that have been able to express how grateful that they are that their kids now have access to a book like this.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I remember growing up, I always loved the books that I could relate to, that had characters kind of similar to me. And so I think that's so wonderful that you are writing books and encouraging other people to have books that represent every race, every family dynamic, because everyone deserves to have that magic of being able to relate to a character in a book. Tell me a little bit more about Janie Bug's Big Day.
Yeah, so like I said, it's a loosely based true story about a young girl who is trying to find her fit in the first grade. And what she really struggles with is being legally blind. One of her students calls it out, or one, not her students, one of her classmates calls out that her eyes are really big, they're really large. And that just really hurts her feelings. And she's able to explain to him why they're so big and how when she was a baby, she had to be brave and she went through 4 eye surgeries and that she hasn't lived the same life that he has. And so that's one thing that is so important about like with representation and reading. So representation and reading creates mirrors and windows. It creates mirrors that allow you to be able to see yourself with characters you relate to, and then it creates windows into the lives of others that you may not know anything about. So it really creates a sense of empathy, and that's one of the biggest reasons why it's so important.
That's so beautiful. And I love that I've seen you going around and sharing this book with so many different elementary schools, and you're creating those mirrors and windows with these kids. And I believe that the biggest way we can make a difference in this world is by building relationships with other people, because the way we change the world is one person at a time. And so you're changing the lives of these kids one at a time, and they're going to grow up and they're going to be able to make a difference in the lives of others too. It's like a domino effect. So what helped you gain confidence despite your own visual impairment?
Definitely, it would have to be my mom. She is the backbone behind all of my success. So, when I was younger, so the eye surgeries that I had to go through, I was very young age, so I don't have much of a memory from it. But hearing her and what she had to go through, and knowing, like, always knowing that I may not be able to drive, but luckily I am able to drive due
Woo!
to the awesome sciences and tech have progressed. So that was a worry most of my life, but now crisis has been averted. But my mom has always instilled confidence in me and has shown me that um, differences are what makes us beautiful, and has encouraged me to and my siblings to be accepting to everyone no matter the difference. And also one of the biggest influential people who have really played a big part of my life is actually the teacher that's featured in the book Janeybug's Big Day. Her name is Christy Willis, and in the story, when the student calls out how large my eyes are, she goes to her glasses and she puts on her, or not to her glasses, she goes back to her desk and she puts on her own glasses. And doing that act of kindness and bravery just really made a long impact on my life, and I'll never forget that moment, even though I was in the first grade.
Absolutely. That's beautiful. And you're so right. Like, our differences are what make us beautiful. If God wanted us all to be the same, He would have made us all the same. But it's our differences that help us stand out. And we all have different purposes, but that doesn't make one of us better than the other, because the world needs us. The world needs us all to be different, because you never know who you can relate to in a different way and how you can stand out. What has been the most meaningful experience as Miss Albany?
So, honestly, one of the most meaningful experiences would have to be one of the ones that I just told you about. It was actually two students. One was a little boy and one was a little girl who came up to me and told me that they also had eye surgeries and that they also were legally blind, and they didn't know that other people were legally blind. And it just really showed just how important representation is in all aspects of life. And that was just a really special connection. And like you said, relationship that I was able to build with another individual. And so that was very meaningful to me.
Yeah, that's so beautiful, especially when you can touch lives of others. And that's my favorite thing about the Miss America organization is getting to go and serve others and just build those relationships, especially with kids, getting to go and read in classrooms and just get to make a difference in their lives and make their days better. So before representation and reading, your social impact initiative was It's Time to Talk About It, based on normalizing mental health discussions. So why did you choose this platform at that time?
So at the time, I chose this platform when I was in middle school, when I first started competing in the Outstanding Teen program. And I had a friend who had tried to take her own life. And luckily and happily, she is thriving. She is at her dream school. I'm just so happy for her. But whenever that happened, it was really eye opening for me because I had never dealt with that personally, and I didn't know anyone else had dealt with it. And that's why I created my social impact initiative. It's time to talk about it because it was very important to me at the time and still is very important to me. And
Yeah.
it was really about it. Like it was such a taboo topic. And I think, in my opinion, I think it still is a taboo topic, but it needs to be brought up because people were unaware of that she was struggling, that she was hurting. And I wanted everyone to know that there's someone there for them, that their life matters and they have a place here. And that's why one of the reasons I changed my social impact initiative to representation and reading, because it is more on the proactive end of mental health. And sometimes people's mental health journey, it's not always a happy one. And
Yeah.
so I wanted to be proactive end. And so I feel like with representation and reading, that will definitely make a difference on a lot of people's mental health.
Absolutely. I agree with that. And it definitely is a taboo topic. I think people are afraid to talk about mental health sometimes, but it is such a huge crisis in our world today. You see it everywhere around you, and you never know what someone is dealing with, which is why it's so important just to just check up on your people. And, for example, the former Miss USA, Chesley Christ, who took her own life, it looked like she had everything she could have wanted in the world, but who knew that she was struggling inside? And I wonder if maybe if she had had someone to check in on her, how different things would have been. And so that's why it's so important just to pay attention to people and really listen to people. So toxic thoughts live in the minds of everyone. How can we prioritize mental health on a daily basis?
So for me personally, one of my biggest struggles is the word no. I always put so much on my plate, whether that be like a normal day in my life would be waking up early, going to school, going to practice, working on stuff for Miss Georgia, helping my friends, helping my family, choreographing dances. And sometimes it's just a lot. And it
Yeah.
took me being so exhausted and mentally drained and my mental health hitting rock bottom for, like, my mom. I was talking to her about it and she was like, honey, you just need to take a pause. Like, it's been enough. Like, you don't have to agree to everything. And so that's one thing that I've really been not struggling, that I've been striving to do. I've been trying to take that advice. Since I've been doing it, I have felt so much better, and I feel like that's something that everyone can do. Like, say I need to have an X amount of hours of sleep. I need to have X amount of time of calm, free time, whatever I want to do, and I feel like those types of things are just so important, and maintaining a positive mental health.
Absolutely. I relate to that 100%. I'm definitely the type of person who says yes to everything, very much a people pleaser, feels like I need to do everything. But this past year, I had the opportunity to be in like 2 or 3 shows at once. And while playing soccer and doing stuff for Miss Georgia and doing schoolwork, but I had to say no. I had to say, no, I can't audition for this show. I'm sorry. I want to be a part of it, but I can't. Um, and so that took a lot from me. And I get FOMO very easily, fear of missing out. But it's something that I've
Me
had to,
too. Me too.
yes, it's something that I've had to overcome, and I try and think of it as JOMO, the joy of missing out. Think of like now I'm getting time to rest and having time for myself, and not putting too much on my plate. And so it's definitely been a struggle, but I'm working on it. What are the signs that someone may be dealing with suicidal thoughts?
Okay, so some of the signs include withdrawing from things that I was thinking the word withdrawing from things that they used to find joy in. So, for example, if, like you said, you play soccer, if you no longer find joy in playing soccer, maybe not sleeping regularly, eating regularly, lack of interest in things they used to enjoy, but lack of interest in spending time with people that they love. Those are all very major signs that somebody might be dealing with suicidal thoughts or struggling with their mental health. It's oftentimes challenging for someone to admit, "Hey, something's wrong. I need help." But when you or not you, but a loved one is struggling with those things, and you notice that, that is opening a door for you to be able to step into their life and help make a difference and be a light in their life and remind them that they're not alone, that you're there for them, that they matter, and that they deserve to be here, that they have a place, and God has a plan for them.
Absolutely. That is so powerful, and it's so true, and that's why it's so important to be observant to the people that you love. And it can be so easy just to get self-absorbed and or absorbed in your phone and not look up at the people around you. But you never know when someone's mental health is at stake and when their life is at stake. And so that's why it's so important to pay attention to other people and to check in on them when they need it. Because, like you said, a lot of times it takes a lot for someone to admit that. So, for you noticing that, it's giving them that opportunity to go and get help. You are a senior in high school. So, what advice would you give to your younger self or someone who is just starting high school?
I would definitely say try everything. So not in a bad way, but
Yeah.
if you're interested in something, yeah, if you're interested in something, go for it. Like what I tell my friends all the time when they're like, "Should I do this? Should I try out for this? Should I join this club?" Is like, what's the worst that can happen? Like, you're not a member of this right now, and so if it doesn't work out, then you're in the exact same spot that you are right now. So
Yeah.
that's really how I've lived my life the past 4 years. And so, like, when I wanted to be captain of my dance line, I was like, well, I'm not the captain of it right now. And so, if I don't become the captain, nothing has changed. If I audition for this show and I don't get in, I'm not in it right now. So, nothing has changed. So, it's worth a shot. And for me, one thing that has happened for me recently that I took a chance on, that I tried it, is I applied to Troy University, which is an out of state university that I absolutely love. I've been able to tour it several times. It's in Alabama, but I applied for several scholarships, and I was like, I don't have the scholarships right now, so if I don't get them, I'm back in the same boat. And
Yeah.
so, but I received them, and I'll be able to attend Troy University in the fall on a full ride. So I'm
Wow.
super blessed by that, and I'm so thankful to them. That's definitely advice that I would give my younger self and to anyone just starting high school and to anyone in general. So
Yeah, that is awesome. Congratulations. I'm so excited for you. That's going to be so much fun for you. And
thank
you're very
you.
right. Like stepping outside of your comfort zone, you never really have anything to lose. You only have things to gain from that. And so that's why it's so important to just try new things, and because you never know where it may lead you or what passion it may introduce you to. It may end up being something you want to do for the rest of your life. And if you don't try it, then you're never going to know. So I think that's a good place to end things. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. You have just shared so much wisdom and knowledge, and I know that God's going to continue to keep working through you to be a light in your community. And I thank you again for joining me.
Thank you so much, Charlie. You are one of the brightest lights that I have ever met, and it's just such an honor to know you, and I feel so blessed to be able to join you here tonight. So thank you so much for having me, truly.
Thank you. I hope you have a wonderful night. Thank you for listening to the Be a Light podcast. Join us every week for a new episode.